Hey friends, happy Monday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Monday afternoon to hopefully give you guys some meal ideas and motivate you to cook more for your family. We made some favorites this week as well as a couple new things, some things that I will definitely be making again and some things that were just okay. So let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night, I made chicken cutlets, and this is a new recipe for us. I had these thin chicken breasts that I hammered out a little bit thinner, and then I'm going to be prepping the stuff to coat my chicken. In one bowl, I am mixing together 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and then about a tablespoon of seasoned salt. And I'm just going to whisk that together really well. I like to make sure that I can really see the seasoning in the flour, because if you can't see it, it's probably not seasoned enough. And then in the next bowl, I am mixing together 2 cups of breadcrumbs. The recipe wanted you to use panko, but I was out of panko, so I just did some regular plain breadcrumbs. And then I seasoned that with some garlic powder, salt, and pepper, and added in some Parmesan cheese. And then I whisked that together really well. And in the third and final bowl, I am whisking together 2 eggs, a little bit of hot sauce, and 1 tablespoon of water. Then in a large skillet, before I started coating my chicken, I went ahead and started heating my oil over a medium heat. This is vegetable oil, and I did probably about 1/4 of an inch in the bottom of my skillet. Then I started coating my chicken by taking each piece and dipping it in the flour first, then into the egg mixture and making sure to shake off any excess egg, and then into the breadcrumb mixture, making sure to coat all sides really well, and then I placed it back on a plate until they were all coated. Once my oil was hot, I added my chicken to the pan and I cooked it for 5 minutes on one side, then flipped them over and cooked them for 5 minutes on the other side. Once they were done, I removed them from the oil and placed them on a wire rack over some paper towels to let any of that excess grease drip off. And then I served this over some penne pasta with some marinara and then some Parmesan cheese on top. These chicken cutlets were delicious and I will definitely make them again. Saturday, I made a new recipe for ground pork and rice. This is a new recipe. I just was looking for something new to make with some ground pork that I had in the freezer. So I'm starting off here with 1 pound of ground pork. I've added it to my skillet. I'm going to season it up with a little bit of salt and pepper and just start browning that up. Once it was pretty much all the way browned, then I'm going to add in some diced onion and diced pepper. I did some like tricolor peppers that I diced up. The recipe just said bell pepper. I think it wanted green bell pepper, but what I had was tricolor because I can buy lots of those and my kids will eat what I don't use for dinners. They will just eat raw. So I continue to cook this, let the meat finish cooking and let the vegetables soften. And then I'm going to add in some minced garlic. I use my little garlic plate for that. I love this thing. It is linked down below if you're interested. And then I added in a little bit more salt and pepper and some garlic powder and let that continue to cook for just a couple minutes until that garlic was fragrant. And then I'm adding in 1 can of diced tomatoes, 2 cups of water, or you could do chicken broth, but I did water, and 2 teaspoons of the Knorr chicken bouillon. And then I did 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Gave that all a good stir, making sure to mix it up really well. And then I'm adding in 1 cup of white rice. I brought that to a slight boil, and then I reduced the heat to a medium low. I covered and simmered this for 20 minutes until the rice was tender and like all of that liquid was absorbed. Then all you have to do is add some cheese if you want to. I think I added in some shredded cheddar, and then just serve this up. I just served it up in a bowl by itself. This meal was like nothing crazy, nothing fancy. It filled our bellies. I don't think I would make it again. It just wasn't a favorite. I think the cheese really saved this meal. Without the cheese, it just might have been a flop. But because it was so cheesy, my family enjoyed it. I feel like it probably would have been good rolled up in a burrito, or with like ground beef or something. Just ground pork isn't really my favorite. Sunday night, I made another thing from the freezer that I got on markdown at Aldi. These are pork center cut loin fillets in the lemon garlic flavor. They are already seasoned. I just cooked them according to the package directions. I had 2 and one was bigger than the other, so I felt like saving one for later, then it wouldn't be enough for my family if I made the small one. So I just made them both, and then we had leftovers for lunch. I think I cooked it on like 375 for like 45 minutes until it reached the proper internal temperature. And then I made some like garlic Parmesan smashed potatoes in the air fryer and a can of green beans to go with it. This is just evidence that dinner does not have to be like really planned out. It can be really simple. Those potatoes I just air fried and then smashed them and threw on some Parmesan cheese and some seasonings. They were super simple to go with that. Not a really like new recipe type of dinner. It doesn't always have to be like new things. It can be simple and just make sure your family is fed. Monday night was a super simple dinner. We had ham fried rice. I had some little ham steaks in the freezer. I diced those up, fried them in the pan, and then removed that, set it to the side, and made my fried rice the way that I always do, which a video of that will be linked down below. And then I just tossed the ham back in at the very end, and that was it. Super simple and yummy dinner. Tuesday night, I made crock pot cube steak and gravy. This is a favorite that I've made many times. We're starting off with adding 2 cans of cream of chicken to the crock pot, and then I'm doing both of those cans full of water. And you could just use beef broth if you want, but since I'm not, I am using some Knorr beef bouillon, and then a packet of Lipton onion soup mix. And then I also like to add in some of the Trader Joe's umami seasoning, because I do not use cream of mushroom. If you like mushrooms, use cream of mushroom, but I don't, so I use the umami seasoning to get some of that mushroom flavor. I just cannot do the texture of mushrooms. And then I whisk that all together really well, and then I'm adding in my cube steak. It was still semi-frozen. It's okay. I just put it in there, cover it with all the sauce, and then I put this on high for 4 hours, and then it was done. The meat was tender, and you can break it up if you want, or you can leave them in whole pieces. I like to break them up slightly, which I'm going to do while I stir in 1 tablespoon of cornstarch that I mixed with 2 tablespoons of water. I stir that in to thicken up the sauce, and then you can serve this over mashed potatoes, or what my family prefers is over egg noodles. It is so delicious that way. My family loves any type of meat and gravy over egg noodles. Wednesday night we did chicken burrito bowls in the Instant Pot. This is one of those where you don't necessarily have to have a recipe, but there is a recipe to follow if you need a recipe. So I'm starting off here with some red onion, and I'm going to saute that with a little bit of minced garlic. Do that for about 4 to 5 minutes until the onion starts to soften. Then I'm going to be stirring in my chili powder and cumin, about a tablespoon of chili powder and about 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, and just let that cook for about another 30 seconds to a minute till it gets nice and fragrant. Then I'm going to be adding in 1/4 cup of my chicken broth or water. I'm just doing water. And then you're going to be using the other 3/4 cup later. But you just want to add that in and cook that for a few minutes, gently scraping the bottom of the pot to loosen any stuck on bits. And then I'm going to be adding in my chicken. My chicken is boneless, skinless chicken breast that I have diced up and seasoned with salt and pepper. And then 1 can of black beans that I have drained and rinsed. 1 can of some Mexican corn. 16 ounces of salsa. And then I'm adding in the Knorr chicken bouillon since I am using water, but I want it to be chicken broth. And then I am topping this with 1 cup of white rice. Once you add in the rice, you don't want to stir it anymore, but you're going to add on 3/4 cup of water or broth and then push the rice down into the liquid to make sure it is covered. Then you cook this on manual high pressure for 10 minutes. And then once it's done cooking, you can do a quick release, give it a good stir. Chicken should be done, rice should be done, everything should be perfect. And you can add cheese to this. Sometimes I mix the cheese in, sometimes I do the cheese on top of our individual bowls. This night we topped it with some cheese, some cilantro, Taco Bell sauce, sour cream, and then typically I serve this with some chips on the side. You can eat it with the chips, like a dip kind of thing. And then we always use the leftovers to make chicken burritos for lunch the next day. Finally, the last meal of the week is another family favorite that I've made quite often. This is crock-pot chicken enchilada casserole. This one is super simple. All you need is some chicken breast. Add that to your crock pot. Mine is frozen. And then you can season your chicken if you would like. I like to season mine with this Goya like complete seasoning. It's similar to the Badia complete, but it has cumin in it. It's really good. And then you want about 28 ounces of enchilada sauce. I usually use the smaller cans, so I usually do 3 or 4, which ends up being more than 28 ounces, but we like it that way. And then you just put a lid on this, and I usually let it cook on low for like 6 to 8 hours, or you could do high for like 4 hours. Then once it's close to time to eat, you're going to cut up 10 corn tortillas into little strips. Then you're going to go to your crock pot and shred up all your chicken. And then once it's shredded up, you can add in those corn tortillas and then some shredded cheese. Put a lid back on this and let it sit on low or warm for 15 to 20 minutes. And those tortillas will soften up a little bit. Your cheese will be melted. And then you can serve it with whatever you like on top. Sometimes we do like cilantro or lettuce or salsa, but this night nobody was feeling any toppings except for me. I wanted a little bit of sour cream on there, and it is delicious and super filling. Really good for when you just don't feel like rolling out chicken enchiladas, but you still like want chicken enchiladas. Really good. But that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you leave me a thumbs up down below and let me know in the comments down below if you plan on trying any of these recipes. I hope y'all have a great week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.